Hello, everybody. If you could just gather around, my name is Jackson McMurray. What we've got here is a Class 4 alien invasion. Just be sure that everything is being taken care of, but just make sure that you're complying with all of our procedures here.
Yes, hello, I'm Adeline McMurray. Would you all do me a favor? Look here at this little red dot. Look really closely.
I don't. This is No Nerds Allowed.
You are watching a funny podcast and you are laughing. You thought it was really funny.
You walked away with great insights about the film Men in Black.
In the Twilight Zone.
That's honestly, I think one of my favorite little touches in this movie is just like the fact that whenever Tommy Lee Jones is about to flash somebody, he just like...
You want to phrase that differently, or...?
I don't. He just like straight up is like, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, no, these are super aliens. There's like aliens all over the place, but we're dealing with it, so it's cool. And then he like erases their memory.
It's like, hey, look here.
Yeah.
I like how he does it quicker and more casually as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
Because you have that first time with like all of the like border patrol guys. And he's like, oh, I need you all to look right here. Like, blah, 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 blah. And then when they're talking to like the lady at the morgue, he's just like, hey, look at this.
That lady gets her memory erased like 4 times in this movie.
I know.
And I think it's so funny. We have some stories we want to tell before we get into this podcast, but Men in Black is just so good.
Jackson's really feeling Men in Black.
I really am.
So if you like, when you like really think about it, do you ever like do you wish that we had like another sibling?
No. Why is that a funny question?
It's not. I was just.
Do you have a funny answer?
Fuck off. No. Do your own fucking thing.
What's your answer to
Wait
that question?
Yes and, Jackson.
I'm
God.
very sorry, but
God, if I had another brother, he would yes and me. A new cooler brother who played basketball.
I do feel like there is a certain dynamic with people who are sets of, or I don't know, I guess just like the brothers who are close enough in age that just like there's so much more. I feel like I hear stories from siblings a lot where they're like, remember when I was 12 and you were 10 and I straight up like stepped on your face that one time, and everyone's like, ha ha ha, oh my god, that was so funny. And I was like, well, I kind of wish I had stories like that. I kind of wish we had more stories of us just beating the shit out of each other as young
because
kids.
I was your little sister, so I think you were afraid to do anything.
Right. I'm trying to think of like times that I like really made you mad.
I mean, when I was a baby, I would bite you.
Right.
And you wouldn't do anything about it.
I was thinking about this the other day. We don't really have a lot of like anecdotes about the two of us doing stuff. I feel like for a lot of our childhood, we kind of stayed in our lanes, you know?
Well, we just kind of existed together. We didn't not like each other, but we were just like... We got to the point where we could like have conversations together, and then we were like, oh shit, we're both really funny. But before that, It was just like, sup?
I remember there was one time this is a weird memory that I have very vividly.
Okay.
I think you were like 11 and I was like 13 or 14. I found like our parents' old like baby snot sucker. You know, that weird little like ball that you would like use to suck snot out of babies' noses?
Yeah, because they can't handle it.
Right. And I found out as I was just playing with it in my hand, I was like, this hasn't had snot in it for 14 years. It's probably clean enough that I could just mess with it. But I found that the little, like, you know the little Lego antenna piece?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I found out that it, like, fit, like, perfectly into that snot sucker. And if I, like, smacked it, it just, like, shot out, like, really powerfully.
Yeah.
So and your door was like just cracked slightly open. So I set it up there and I like aimed it at you and I just was like, shapow, and it like hit you in the back of the head and it's just like it scared you, but you were just like so mad about it.
Yeah.
And I just remember like being like, Oh, I thought that was funny. I thought we would be able to laugh about that if I did that. But Adeline's just super mad. So, like...
I thought that was funny. But as it turns out, no one agrees with me.
Right.
We're just gonna kill him.
Okay, there is something I want to... Oh, go ahead.
I think when it comes to, like, brothers, there's, like, a weird, like, dominance thing that happens. Like, there's, like, a
Right.
power hierarchy, definitely.
Right.
But I feel like the fact that we're brother and sister, we don't have that power hierarchy, because we're, like, individuals in our own gender, that we're, like, I don't feel pressured to be like you, and you don't feel
Right.
pressured to be like me. So, when you did stuff to me, I would just yell at you about it.
Right.
I didn't
Although,
just take it.
Here's the thing, though, is I feel like that's not even entirely the case, because all of our mom's stories about her and Uncle Jeff when they were
That's true.
kids,
That's very true.
when they would, like, wasn't there a story where she said that they, like, abandoned her in a cornfield?
Well,
They just, like, lured her out there and ran away?
There's two stories that I really like. There's a time that they locked Ryan, the youngest brother, in the basement. And that was the whole joke. That was the whole goof.
Yep, that just happened.
And there's the other time that they were playing lawn darts, which I think was maybe the worst invention ever made.
Right.
Where you throw spikes at high velocity across your backyard and hope that you don't hit a child or dog in the process. And our mom throws it, hits her older brother in the head, and then she genuinely thought that Jeff was gonna kill her.
That story's so good.
It's very good. There's also the time that our Uncle Ryan wrote his name, Ryan, across Mary's head in the Bible.
Like a Post Malone face tattoo.
Like it was some cool, edgy, like, album art for his SoundCloud.
I like to imagine the alternate future in which our Uncle Ryan didn't grow up to be a pastor. He grew up to be a SoundCloud rapper.
He's close. He's got the beard and the beanie for it.
Yeah. Okay, there is something I actually want to address before we get into the movie, though.
Yeah.
Which is that my wonderful girlfriend, Anna, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago, what was that noise you just made?
That's me burping, but like not burping.
Okay.
That wasn't a reaction towards Aunt Anna. I love Anna. I wasn't like, ew, Anna.
But her podcast, her personal podcast, has a much bigger and more successful following than ours does.
Hey.
Her SCP narrative podcast, but I do some voices on that podcast. And apparently through that, this podcast has gotten a handful of fans because they know me from that. So, hey, if you're here from Find Us Alive, the SCP experience, or whatever the fuck that podcast is called.
You should know what that podcast is called.
I'll never remember. I know it's called Find Us Alive. I don't remember what the subtitle is, though. But anyway.
What if it's something real bad, like SCP fanfiction hour?
An SCP erotic fan fiction. And I just haven't been paying attention, and I don't realize that it's about to take a really drastic turn in the next few episodes.
I like to imagine that you don't read the script, and you just like record yourself saying things without any idea what you're saying.
Right.
Like, I was gonna make a joke about SCP, but realized that I have no context for anything, so I was like gonna make like a monster voice, and the monster would be talking about sex, but I imagine that's not what the podcast is about.
That kind of happened. I mean,
I'm okay.
Not the monster erotica part, but the me just talking without having a full context.
Okay.
Because on the last episode, I had a slightly larger role in, but it was just like she's doing this like artsy thing where it's like, oh, you just hear my half of the conversation and you don't really know what the other half is, and like those details are gonna get kind of filled in later. She didn't bother to give me what the other half was, though, for my own
so
context.
You had no idea?
Yeah, so I was just like, oh, haha, that's really cool, great. Yeah, you will that people behave that way sometimes in times of stress. That's normal. And I was just like, I hope I'm doing a good job. She seems to be okay with it, so
I have no idea what the fuck this conversation is.
That's some behind-the-scenes knowledge about how bad a job we do at making this podcast you like so much.
God, I want to play D&D with Anna again so bad. Tell Anna I want to play D&D with her.
Okay, can't do. So hey, Adeline. Oh, this was the other thing.
Okay.
We need a better Twitter presence. I think now that we've got some people on board with us, between now and the time that this episode comes out, I'm going to
step up
create...
your Twitter game.
Well, yeah, I mean, my own personal Twitter game's already great, and you should follow me at Jepperpack. But it's like Pepper Jack, but with the letters switched. Also under Jackson McMurray, you can search that. I think you should.
Are we at the point where I have to have a Twitter account?
Yes. Okay, first of all, I want you to have a Twitter because there's a lot of great stuff on Twitter that I want to send you, and it just becomes too much of a hassle for me to like try to take a screenshot of it or whatever. First of all. But second of all, I think if we have an audience, that kind of engagement would be fun.
Yeah, that's
anyway.
fine.
The point I'm actually trying to make is that I'm going to
be one of those people that has a Twitter. It's just like, what the fuck is up with peanut butter jelly sandwiches? Am I right? It's got like 1,200 likes below it.
You're going to turn into like a professional shit poster.
This is my origin story.
The kind of person who is verified, but you've never heard of them, and you look
you
at
don't
their
know
account,
who the fuck
and it's
it
just
is, though.
all garbage, and you're just like, who is this person?
So when they're verified and you Google them and the only thing that comes up is their Twitter account.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be you. But anyway, I'm going to make a dedicated No Nerds Allowed Twitter that you may follow at your discretion if you're interested in such a thing. And, if there's ever a time when we make reference to something on the podcast that you don't necessarily get to experience, or maybe we take a selfie during the show as part of a good joke, we could put it there.
Are you gonna take a selfie right now?
No, I'm absolutely not going to.
Because I won't be doing that either, so why would you say we would be doing that? I'm never gonna do that.
I'm just giving a random example of things that may or may not show up on our newly minted Twitter account.
I could draw stuff for the podcast. We could put it up
there. Have been a couple of times where, remember when we were talking about The Conjuring and I talked about that face that Patrick Wilson made when he was thinking really hard that I thought was really funny?
Yeah.
I posted that on my Twitter and was like, hey, if you wanted to see it, here it is. I think it's very funny. You want to know something I learned from that experience?
Followers were like, cool.
Yeah, you want to know something I learned from that experience? Is that there were a lot more Patrick Wilson stans on Twitter than I thought there were.
And you met all of them.
Yeah. Stan Twitter is weird because there is one for everything.
For every person that's even Sean Bean has a stan culture.
I can't imagine anybody less stannable than Patrick Wilson. He's a totally regular looking, medium handsome white guy who's been in a handful of pretty good movies.
Dude, Jackson, they're all gonna yell at you. You're gonna have a stan war on your hands. That's gonna be 100% your fault.
I love Patrick Wilson. He's great. He's good
in Aquaman. You just dunked on him for a whole minute, dude.
He's good in Aquaman. He's good in The Conjuring. He's good in
The Toilet, am I right?
He can't think of any other things that he's played. He was the president in Batman v Superman.
And Real Life.
He was good in that. Patrick Wilson's fine. I like him. It's so funny to me.
That this piece of shit human being can have so many stands.
Anyway, so that handle, oh fuck, I guess I haven't done it yet, so I can't say for certain what the handle is going to be. It'll probably be at No Nerds Allowed, but in the case that that's taken, I'll fix this afterwards. Hey, this is post-production Jackson. The Twitter is up, and it is called No Nerds Allowed Podcast. You can find it at No Nerds Pod. At No Nerds Allowed was already taken by a guy who is following nobody and who has 0 followers, whose name is just Ricky, and he made one post in 2009 and never again. So, I don't know, maybe I can get in contact with Ricky and get at No Nerds Allowed, but for now, it's at No Nerds Pod. So, Adeline McMurray, my sister.
Yes, hello, Jackson McMurray, my baby brother. I don't have any proof.
What film did you choose for us to speak about today?
The famous acronym MIB, which stands for Many Insects. Boy.
Many Insects.
The story the story of a little boy who gets a superpower of being made of several insects.
Can I, Adeline?
Yeah.
Adeline, really quick. That joke wasn't funny.
Yeah, it wasn't. I thought it would get funnier if I just committed to it, but it just I don't hear anybody laughing. So I'm gonna get off the stage and.
No, it's okay. We can move forward.
No, I want to get off the stage.
I want to make sure that you know that wasn't funny, and we can.
Okay, can you turn the lights off? I want to get off the stage.
Yeah, sure. Here we go. So, Men in Black is a movie that was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who I think is a really interesting filmmaker. Because he made The Addams Family and Addams Family Values in 1991 and 93, which are like big cult movies in the modern day. What is so funny about that?
I don't know. Just the term cult movies always makes me laugh. I
They're
just imagine
kind of
a bunch
movies...
of people with like cult robes, like staying in a circle chanting, and in the middle of the circle is just like a TV playing The Addams Family.
But I don't know. They're just the kind of movie that weren't like hugely successful at the time, but is like really popular now as sort of the throwback appeal that people have sort of reevaluated. Yeah. But those were like his two movies, were Addams Family and the sequel to Addams Family.
Yeah.
And then after that, I mean, he made a couple of other movies that weren't really successful.
He decided to get weird with it.
Well, yeah, and then he was able to use that clout to make Men in Black, and then he followed that up with Wild Wild West. Which is
the best film ever
great
made.
Movie. And then basically from there he made
straight to the Wild Wild West.
I knew you were gonna do that, and
what?
I knew you were gonna do that, and I was trying so hard to rush through that sentence before you could start.
You can't fucking stop me, Jackson, from singing Wild Wild West by Will Smith.
He basically continues after that to make only bad movies and Men in Black sequels, which are also bad. I want you to guess what his most recent directorial project was.
Did he not direct the new Men in Black?
He did not. Because here's a hint. The new Men in Black fucking sucks ass, and even Barry Sonnenfeld would have done so much better of a job with that. It's a movie. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It is a movie. It came out in 2016, and it features very prominently the voice talents of Kevin Spacey.
Pedophiles Anonymous.
No. It's a children's movie. It's got Christopher Walken in it also.
What film is this?
It's called 9 Lives.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
my god.
That was our boy Barry.
Where Kevin Spacey is a cat.
But okay. But there is a major redeeming quality to him though in the recent years, because he was originally supposed to direct the Jim Carrey Series of Unfortunate Events movie. He ended up being an executive producer on it after he sort of fell out with the studio. Yeah, but he's great. But when he was making it, he was like, hey, what if we laid off Jim Carrey? Because the movie's not about him, right? And the studio was like, get the fuck out of here.
What the fuck are you saying? Get out!
And then guess what happened after that? Was he got to be the showrunner on the Netflix Series of Unfortunate Events. He got his second chance on Series of Unfortunate Events, and he did a fucking great job because I love that show.
And he got to dunk on Jim Carrey all he wanted.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, anyway, that was just I'm interested in Barry Sonnenfeld as a filmmaker because he's done some great stuff, and I just want the best for him. And I feel like he's on kind of an upswing right now. And I just want him to be happy. Oh, and he was also the cinematographer on movies like Raising Arizona and Big and Misery and When Harry Met Sally. Like, he was a successful cinematographer for a really long time also. Wow. He's just had a cool career.
Do I have to watch When Harry Met Sally, like, as a person? Is that a requirement?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, well, put that on the list.
It's just, I don't know. I haven't watched it yet either, but it's a very good movie. You know, people still really like it. They talk about it as being, like, one of the few, like, 80s rom-coms that, like, actually has a thought in its head and, like, holds up. But anyway, let's speak about Men in Black. Unless you want me to list more of Barry Sonnenfeld's credits.
No, listen, that was so good and really interesting, really mind-bending.
Yeah.
But I think... I don't know how to end this sentence because I realized how mean of a joke that it was. And I got stifled by my own bad energy and I didn't know where to put it. So now I'm just holding this box of bad energy and I don't know where to put it down.
Okay.
How do you think the podcast is going so far?
Pretty good so far.
Good.
He was a director on The Tick with Patrick Warburton.
Jackson.
The old one, not the new one. And let's see.
All I know is that Clint McElroy likes the old one.
Yeah, everybody likes the old one.
And maybe also Our Dad.
It's Patrick Warburton's finest role, if you ask me. He's just like, oh, I'm the Tick and I'm here to solve crime.
Do you want to talk about Men in Black?
No, can we talk about Patrick Warburton for a minute?
Do you want to know something terrible?
What's that? I wasn't being serious, but if you do want to talk about Patrick Warburton,
no, I was just going to say I don't know who that is off the top of my head.
He's the guy with the deep voice who plays Lemony Snicket. And Kronk and...
Oh, yeah.
The Tick, most famously. His greatest role, The Tick.
Yeah, no, I know exactly that. I don't know why I couldn't recognize his name. I usually can.
He's like, oh, you probably shouldn't be here. Yeah, exactly. He's the Sword Over California guy.
That's his greatest role, Jackson. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I think Patrick Warburton's greatest role is the safety video in Sword Over California. So, okay. How about you, Adeline? What do you think about Men in Black?
I really like it. I think it's a great film. I do honestly think it's probably one of the best, like, action blockbusters ever made. Like, I think, like, it just, like, hits all the notes that it needs to hit, and it's so good.
No, yeah, when it comes to, like, big budget family action comedies, to me, the gold standard is, like, Men in Black, The Mummy,
Dogs vs. Cats,
Guardians of the Galaxy. Is Dogs vs. Cats actually good?
No, Jackson. Okay. Of course it's not.
Why did you pull that? Where did that come from?
It was a goof because it's historically a bad film. It's a bad bake.
I guess I was just impressed at that pull and it caught me off guard.
G-Force.
G-Force? You know Ed Norton was in that movie?
God, what the fuck was up with that movie?
Hey, it's post-production Jackson again. Ed Norton was not in G-Force. I was thinking of Sam Rockwell. See you later. Okay, give me some other, like, great family action comedies. Back to the Future.
Back to the Future 2.
This is debatable. What's something from, like, the modern era? What's, like, the gold standard nowadays? I said Guardians of the Galaxy.
Baby Driver? No.
No, I don't think that's quite the same. That's an R-rated movie. Yeah. So it doesn't count.
I don't know. I feel like everything today is just sequels, you know, but like I can't think of any like IP off the top of my head.
I feel like there aren't a lot of people who are doing like who are infusing action movies with comedy in the same way that they used to.
Yeah, well, because it kind of came around from, like, before there were kids' movies, there were just, like, before there were, like, kids' movies, there was just, like, movies that were okay enough to see with your children. So that's
I still feel like that's kind of the case. I mean,
but that's where you got action comedies, because it was, like, we could do action for the adults and do some comedy for the kids and, like, still keep it at, like, kind of, like, a higher level, like, keep it, like, PG-13.
Right.
Instead of, like, G.
Yeah, but I think that's what, like, a lot of the modern blockbusters right now are, you know? Like, things like Marvel movies, things like Star Wars, things like that general zone are pretty much that. They're, like, something for the family. They're not kids' movies per se, but they're something that, you know, you would take your kids with, something you could see with the whole family, you know? Yeah. But I feel like that sort of area is getting a little bit less comedy focused. I feel like it's less directed towards children in kind of a bad way, if you ask me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
because I feel like, and, there still are these movies. Like, I mean, like I said, like Guardians of the Galaxy, like Ant-Man, like, those are the only examples I can think of, actually. I'll think of something a little bit later, but like, a lot of the things in that oeuvre are just a little more serious. It's not that they're not funny, but like the comedy aspect of them isn't like on the poster,
Yeah, I mean, like, how many times did you laugh during, like, Endgame? Because my theory is probably not a lot.
No, I mean, but that's the thing, is that they're lighthearted movies, and they're fun to watch, and there's plenty of jokes in them.
But it's taking a back seat. Like, I wouldn't describe Infinity War as an action comedy,
Yeah. I don't know, I guess The Mummy isn't really a comedy either, though.
I think maybe The Mummy's just bad, so we think that it's funny.
No. Okay, let's reframe this discussion.
Okay.
What are big budget PG-13 movies of the 21st century, or of the last decade, let's say, that are just like tight and perfectly executed?
I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy is a good example. I'm gonna open up a website. Look at some lists of movies. I feel like Solo had the potential to be that if it were good.
But everybody hated Solo.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. I don't think people hated it. I just think everybody across the board was like, whatever. Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah.
That is like the quintessential. It didn't immediately come to mind because it's animated, but that's totally in that space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Call Me By Your Name.
Was that really an action?
Did you think I was being serious?
Man, we're doing a bad job over here.
That is the quietest, most boring movie anybody's ever made.
Wait, doesn't somebody fuck a peach?
That's not a joke, Adeline.
That was a real artistic choice.
Okay, let's take a look. Incredible. No. I don't like Incredibles 2.
Oh, I guess The Incredibles is like 2004.
Yeah. An argument could be made for The Martian.
Yeah,
that's a little more
action.
Elevated. Yeah. Let's see. I feel like Avengers appropriately occupies that space.
Oh, absolutely.
There are a lot of Marvel movies I could mention, but I'm trying not to just only do that.
Yeah. Well, but just like the original Avengers movie is just like such a tight movie. Like,
oh, totally.
It's just like very well done. And
something about Avengers feels sort of throwbacky, like with a little bit of hindsight. There's something about it that sort of feels kind of like Zemeckis-y or like Spielberg-y.
Yeah.
That it's just like, it's visually and artistically, it's just really simple and straightforward, but it's also just like perfect, you know? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna find one more good example, and then we're gonna move on from this poison bit.
We've been fucking talking about this for so fucking long. Can we talk about Men in Black, please?
Hold on.
No, like literally, like you did this to illustrate a point. I think that was like 20 minutes ago.
Hold on. Detective Pikachu. It's not that great, but that's just a movie that could fit in that zone.
Okay.
Anyway,
what are your thoughts about Men in Black?
It's just a perfect movie. I think this is like, these are like, Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith are like two of the most effortlessly charismatic people on planet Earth.
I know.
They are both in their own unique way so funny in this movie.
And like in such different ways, which is so interesting.
And there's not a single, like, acting decision or moment in this movie that falls flat, especially once you've seen it a handful of times.
Yeah.
And just, like, everything Tommy Lee Jones says is fucking hysterical in this movie.
Good.
There's that moment where, like, he's, like, going through stuff. Like, there's something about Tommy Lee Jones. He has this talent of just, like, perfectly underselling every ridiculous thing that he's saying.
Yeah.
When he's like introducing a couple of aliens and he's just like, all right, Jay, these are our two analysts. Their names are Meat Morp and Bob. And he just like moves, but he says it like so fast and just like moves right on. It's just like the perfect delivery of that joke.
And when there's like he's like proving to Will Smith that there's actually aliens. He's like, do you want some coffee? I'm gonna get some coffee. And he gets in there and you have all those like four little maybe racist aliens. I don't know.
Yeah, that like George Lucas gray zone where they're
it's not a person.
Yeah, it's like they're not actually a racial stereotype because it's like they're not Mexican. They're aliens, but they're still kind of like, how do we feel about this?
Yeah, it's like when you're playing D&D and it's like orcs are like equals black people, but they're also always the bad guys. You're like, this makes me uncomfy. Anyway, but yeah, he goes into that room and he's like, do we have any regular cream? We only have the shitty creamer. I don't like that creamer. And they're like, hey, I don't know, boss. And it's like, oh. I was gonna make a comment about Tommy Lee Jones, but this bit just became about how racist those aliens might be.
Right. Remember in Phantom Menace when there were those super racist, like, Japanese aliens right at the very beginning?
Yeah, they show up other times too, which you think they would stop.
God, those are my favorite characters in Star Wars, I think.
God,
What's that guy's name? Gunray?
I don't know. I was gonna impersonate them. But see, in impersonating these aliens, I think it might be the most racist thing I've ever done, so I'm not gonna do it.
Newt Gunray is his name.
God, George Lucas just like freaking hits it out of the park with alien names. What's the name of one of the guys who's in the Cantina band?
Fuck.
It's some really stupid shit.
Cantina band characters. Mos Eisley Cantina character guide. Let's take a look at some names. We've got... Okay, so that guy that is just a werewolf. Remember that guy?
Yeah, that's a Party City werewolf mask.
Yeah, his name is a real Skokus.
He is a real Skokus.
Okay, so the players don't have names, but they're just called Bith. That's the name of their alien species.
They are Bith.
You want to know the name of the guy who says, I don't like you either?
Yeah.
Bo Sheck.
Why did he have to name them? Why can't it just be guy with pig nose and furry animal with a butt on his face?
No. They've all got to have names. This guy, I don't know if I could describe him in a way that would make you recognize him, but one of the guys, his name is Chachi Del Mal.
That's racist.
Let's see.
What's the guy? Isn't there another guy in that scene who I think is literally just a devil?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I
Satan.
can't find the devil guy. Let's see. Scrolling through here. There's Greedo. We all know Greedo. Oh, here he is. No, that's a different guy. God, the Cantina scene is so good. Oh, fuck.
He doesn't
okay, so
like you. I don't
like you either.
Sorry. And then Kenobi fucking chops off his arm. Can we talk about that?
I love the way Luke reacts to that in that movie.
I'm sorry.
It's just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it starts with, he doesn't like you. And he goes, okay. And then he pulls him around again and he goes, I don't like you either. And then he goes, I'm sorry.
When are we going to do Star Wars? We should do Star Wars.
Okay.
Okay, so, but the guy who's just actually a devil, his name is really long and he's got a lot of apostrophes in his name.
Oh, hell yeah, you know
so,
he does.
So here's what I'm going to say. Kardusai Malak is his name.
Wow, what a shitty. That's like on par with D&D with how shitty that name is.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go one more until I can find. Do you ever just
read through the Dungeons and Dragons handbook and just want to shoot yourself in the head at how stupid some of the names are?
I wonder how many of these characters had names at the time and how many of them got named afterwards.
Oh, because we, for some reason, because Star Wars is so popular, but we all felt like we had to fill out the whole universe in order to enjoy it. So suddenly every fucker who's on screen for like half a second suddenly has a dead parent, a weird name with 10 apostrophes, and at one point they were a Jedi, but they're not anymore.
Right. You want to know the name of the guy who didn't like Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
His name's Ponda Baba.
Aw.
That's a really good name.
Ponda!
Anyway, this is a mess of an episode.
Yeah, and it's your fault, by the way.
I love the opening credits of this movie. because I had forgotten that Danny Elfman did the score to this movie.
Oh, it's so Danny Elfman.
And I remembered immediately, like, the instant the movie started. I was like, oh, shit, that's right. Okay, yeah. But it's just, like, this dragonfly flying around, and it's just, like, bugs in space. That's all you gotta know. This movie, whole mission statement, bugs in space.
Well, I think what I love so much about that opening shot is that we haven't said a word about aliens yet, and still you get that vibe. And of course it's because it's this dragonfly thing, like, flying through space. But it's honestly because, like, bugs are so freaking weird and, like, weirdly, like, otherworldly, even though they're absolutely of this world. And to, like, use that in a way to, like, immediately get you thinking about aliens even without even bringing them up, I think is really effective.
Yeah, just conjuring the spirit of extraterrestrials.
Yeah, well, because, like Alien and all these other kind of alien-esque, like, figures that we already have are all kind of weird and buggy already, so it's really cool to, like, kind of point out that distinction.
Right. I don't know. Sorry, I totally just lost my train of thought there for a second. But
can we talk about I love the first scene of this movie where you have the guys at the border and they're like, oh, because first of all they have to make an alien joke about, like, oh, aliens from another country, no, aliens from space, like, that's a funny joke, and they do it in a very fun way. But you have the border patrol, and then you have, like, having them at the border, like, totally sets up the theming of the movie so well. Because, like, okay, we're talking about aliens that are coming to Earth, but not in, like, a they came from space kind of way, like, in, like, kind of like a regular kind of bureaucratic way. And, like,
they're immigrants.
Yeah, they, like, create such, like, a clear, like, comparison so quickly and early in the movie that you, like, immediately know what's going on, and it's so good.
Well, and that's one of the things... Oh, go ahead.
What I think falls apart, and it's in that scene too, is when they're talking to the guy, and he's like, oh, I'm an alien, I've got this funny Mexican head, haha, what's up? And then the border patrol guy, like, comes and he sees the alien, and the alien immediately tries to murder him. That's where I feel the distinction was weird.
Right, yeah.
I don't know why that alien attacked that guy, because he was a dude, like, 2 seconds ago.
Right, yeah, I don't know. This is good, more exciting. But that's why I think, like, setting this movie in New York is, like, perfect for so many reasons. Mm-hmm. Because, like, on the one hand, it's this whole, like, immigration thing where it's just, like, you know, this, like, great American melting pot, like Ellis Island, and, like, people coming in and just living there. And it's also, like, this is a point that I'm borrowing from Patrick H. Willems, who did a whole video essay on, like, great New York movies. But it just sort of posits that, like, New York is the only place in the world where just, like, the fucking crazy, freaky people just exist all over the place. Yeah. And nobody pays attention to them at all. It's like this place where it could be that, like, all these wacky people you meet on the subway and you're just like, who the fuck is this? Like, what is their life? How did you get this way?
Like in any other town or city, that would be, like, the famous weirdo, but in New York, that's just Greg. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, I think this, like, script is just so cool. And yeah, I don't know. And, you know, we already said this, but, like, him, like, just attacking that guy is a little bit weird, and then Tommy Lee Jones just fucking murking him there is a little bit weird too. Yeah,
executing him.
Maybe weird to believe that he's kind of like Tony Shalhoub and he'll put himself back together again eventually.
But no, because he explodes onto all of the cactuses, and then the guys come and burn his entrails off of the cactuses.
That's true. Maybe he's like
He's
Sandman.
turned into his gaseous form.
Yeah, maybe he's like Sandman from Marvel, and he has like one particle that his consciousness is in, and he'll put himself back together again from that eventually. Yeah. That's what I choose to believe. That's my headcanon that makes
them just straight up murdering that dude, okay?
Yeah. But like, there's that great moment where like first of all, the bit where he's like speaking Spanish to all those guys, and then he comes up to the alien. You don't know a word of Spanish, yeah, he's just like speaking fluent Spanish. He's just like, I'd like to punch you in your fat fucking face, and he's like, yeah. It's really good. And then like that border patrol guy is like, "Sir, I don't know who you are, and I don't think." And then they do this like crazy like dolly in on Tommy Lee Jones. And he's just like, "Dude, don't even with me right now."
In this very, very low risk game.
Yeah. The next thing I have written down is just that Will Smith yelling is just always funny.
It's just always funny. I would like to take Men in Black and put it in the drawer specifically for movies that don't understand what it's like to be a black person in this world. Because he's just running around with a gun and like
Right.
just yelling. And I know he's a police officer, but like I don't know.
No, he's yelling, LAPD! So it's fine. That makes it okay.
Yeah, that means it's fine.
I feel like Will Smith and Tom Hanks are the best yellers that we have in modern cinema right now.
It's an art.
I don't think anybody does yelling better than the two of them do. Have they ever been in a movie together?
They gotta, right?
That has to be something that happens eventually.
Because they were like famous at the same time, which is also now, but in the past also.
Right. I'm Googling Tom Hanks, Will Smith.
Will Smith, Tom Hanks, these skeletons are now alive.
I guess not. Apparently there was a story that was going around, when was this posted? 4 years ago. So
Cool.
that said that they were trying to get or that Will Smith and Tom Hanks had signed on to do like a crime thriller that was like a script somebody optioned.
That would be so good.
But this is when I googled Will Smith, Tom Hanks. This is the only thing that came up, and it's from. Let me check. Precisely when this came out. I can't read because this is a bad website. But 4 years ago, it says.
It says right across the top. 4 years ago.
Yeah, I doubt that that's still happening. I wish it would though. Let's see.
I think one of the coolest shots in the movie is that frame where he finally catches the alien guy and he's like backing up to like kill himself and fall off the back of the building, and the camera just goes up but you just see him like fully fall off the side of the building, and it's so good.
God, and just like I love this movie so much.
Yeah. I can tell.
It's just a perfect film. And like I think okay, here's the next thing I want to bring up. Vincent D'Onofrio is, I think, the single greatest actor who we have on this planet right now. Because, like, every single thing that he's in, he is just so wildly different. Because, like, the biggest things that he's known for are, like, a crazy bug man in Men in Black.
Yeah.
The protagonist of the first half of Full Metal Jacket, who's that, like, emotionally stunted guy in boot camp who like freaks out and kills himself at the end, which is like a crazy performance that's obviously wildly different than that.
Than this, yeah.
Yeah, and the Kingpin in Daredevil, and it's just like he's just unrecognizable. If I didn't know his name and know who he was, I would never ever in a million years make the connection that those were the same person.
Yeah, realize that he was in all these movies.
Yeah, he was in Jurassic World, and he plays just like the gruff government guy who's the bad guy. Because that movie is bad.
Park movie.
But in that movie too, he's just like a guy in like, you know, a police uniform, and he's got like kind of a beard, and he just looks so totally different than every other thing he's ever done. It's wild. And especially in this movie, in which he plays a crazy alien bug
inside of a corpse.
Yeah, and like he sells it. Like his performance isn't like cringy or awkward or like embarrassing to watch, because somehow he finds this like perfect balance of like going way too big but doing so with like this ultimate confidence that just sells it perfectly, you know? There are so many bad ways to play this role, and I think Vincent D'Onofrio found maybe the only good way out of all of those.
Yeah. on Halloween, me and my friends, we watched Beetlejuice for the first time in a long time. And I'm not going to talk shit about Beetlejuice because I think it's a great film. And I think, what's his face? What's his name?
Tim Burton?
No, Beetlejuice, the actor.
Oh, Michael Keaton?
Michael Keaton. I wanted to say Michael Myers, and that's not it.
We've just got Michael Myers on our minds the last few weeks.
Apparently, God, it's been like a whole week since I watched the movie. Anyway, but yeah, Michael Keaton, he does a great job. But like, there's still those lines in Beetlejuice that hit hard and are hilarious. It like totally cement Beetlejuice's character. And then there's other goofs that just like totally didn't age well or fall flat or like just aren't funny anymore. Right. And I didn't get that at all with his performances, Bug Corpse Man.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
I thought
totally.
like it's like that same kind of energy, like that over the top kind of like body horror-y kind of comedy, but like in a silly way. Like Jim Carrey body horror is how I would describe it.
Yeah. Describing Jim Carrey's comedy as body horror is, I think, the most like insightful comment anybody's made in the last 21st century. That is a tweet that I think will get
that will do that. That'll be the first tweet on the No Nerds Allowed Twitter.
Like pioneers of the body horror genre. Junji Ito. Like Junji Ito. What's the name of the guy who did The Fly? Cronenberg. I don't remember what his first name is. Cronenberg. Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What I was going to say is that these two similar, like, kind of character types, and I feel like he does such a great job as it without... Because he does a good job of it without just being Beetlejuice, you know?
Right. But yeah, no, I think the majority of the appeal of this movie is that this is like a very performance-driven movie, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And every single actor in it just fucking knocks it out of the park. There is not a line reading in this movie that isn't like the best and funniest and most powerful possible line reading that there could be, you know? And, you know, Vincent D'Onofrio is absolutely no exception. Also, the woman who plays Vincent D'Onofrio's wife, she's also just the best. And there's that line.
She does such a good job.
There's that line where she just like, Edgar, your skin's hanging off your bones. It's just so funny. And the fact that she just says, Edgar, the whole time.
Edgar. I know Edgar, and that ain't Edgar.
I know Edgar, and that ain't Edgar. Edgar, your skin's hanging off your bone. Oh, no, how did she say bones? Bones.
Like she's from Minnesota.
Yeah, it's so funny. Another thing that this movie does that I found myself like getting caught up in is that there are so many moments where there are just these shots that like, it's kind of like I talked about in The Conjuring. I mean, totally different, but like just these...
This movie's just like The Conjuring.
Yeah, but just like these Spielberg-esque like long tracking shots that you don't even think about, you know? Like there's that shot of Will Smith like getting in the elevator at the Men in Black Fortress that first time.
Yeah.
And it's like you start out in the lobby and he says something to the doorman and then he walks in the elevator, the camera follows him in, and then you're in the elevator with him for a second. Then the elevator doors open on the opposite side. He walks in and has a conversation with Rip Torn on the other side of that elevator. In all the same shot. It's like a minute shot and you don't even think about it, you know?
Yeah. Who's the guy that plays Zed?
Rip Torn.
Rip Torn. What a good voice.
I know, he's the best.
We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger.
He's the guy who plays Zeus in Hercules, which is also
that's
perfect
what I knew
casting.
him from.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he still alive? I hope he is, because he's great.
I hope he is. I want him to come to my birthday party.
And he has the best name in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Rip Torn.
It's very onomatopoeia-esque.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still kicking around.
What is it when a word is a sound?
Yeah, onomatopoeia.
I always think it's something else. I always say onomatopoeia, and I'm right, but I think I'm wrong. That's happened at least 3 times. Right. This isn't interesting.
Oh, no, he did die. He died in July.
Oh,
Bummer.
No!
He never got to have, like, his big breakout role, you know? I mean, he was just one of those character actors who was always kicking around and doing good work. Anyway, Tommy Lee Jones's character, Kay. I just have to think about what his name was because they have the dumbest naming convention in this movie.
Because it's dumb and it's dumb. And see, I know none of the characters' names in this because they don't have them.
Right. But Kay, I love his like strategy of like covert operations in which he just tells people everything that he's doing all the time and they just roll his eyes at him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so funny to me. And it's just like Tommy Lee Jones. I can't get over how great he is in this movie because like he just has this perfect like level of disdain for everything and everyone around him while still being like energetic, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there's that line where he's like walking Will Smith through all this like crazy technology and he pulls up that little tiny CD and he's like, this technology is going to replace the CD in just a couple of years and it looks like I'm going to have to buy the fucking White Album again.
I know.
And you're like, it's just so good. He doesn't say fucking, that's just me.
Yeah, it's just the energy.
The attitude, yeah. You're like, he's like doing these wonderful things at the forefront of human innovation and he's just like, God damn it, this is so fucking stupid.
God, did you see Tommy Lee Jones in The Sunset Limited? Because he also directed that.
No, I don't think I've even heard of that movie.
Oh, no, it's Tommy Lee Jones, and it's... Oh, God, what's his name? Nick Fury.
Samuel L. Jackson?
Samuel L. Jackson. Why couldn't I think of his name? I'm having a stroke. Anyway, so Samuel L. Jackson plays Mr. Black, and Tommy Lee Jones plays Mr. White. And it's basically word for word of the play, and Tommy Lee Jones directs it. And it's hauntingly good. It's so good. But I watched that in my philosophy class, and then I watched Men in Black, and it was weird to see Tommy Lee Jones playing this character who basically just wants to kill himself, and just like this hauntingly kind of like scary character and how much he doesn't care about life. Right. And then immediately going to Kay. It was just such a weird shift.
Right. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like all the great gags at the beginning of this movie. I think the moment when he goes into the like application and there's that gag where they just give them these sheets of paper and none of them like know how to write on it because there's not like a table or anything.
Yeah, well, there's like a coffee table and that's it.
Yeah, and they're all like poking holes in their paper and stuff and like something that's just a genius gag that is like nobody would ever have thought of except for the makers of this movie, you know? And the fact that they sell that and make that funny and interesting is just, it's so good. I love that sequence.
Well, I love how well they established Will Smith's character because like he's like we established him as like the like cop who's like going against the system and like we've kind of seen that character before, but like he's going against the system and kind of like more of like a real way on the way that people like actually go against the system,
right? By
like being just like kind of weird and kind of being like defiant and like smart in a way that other people don't like.
Right.
Like when they're talking to the other applicants and he's like, I'm a military man, I'm the best of the best, sir. And he's like, it's really funny that you're all excited and you have no idea why the fuck we're here. Like it's just, he just totally nails that character. And like him like shooting the cardboard cutout of the little girl in the head and he's like, well, she's the only one who looks like she shouldn't be here, and it's just so good.
I honestly don't like that sequence. I think it's stupid.
You don't like it?
No, I don't know. It's just like, why would he be thinking that way? He doesn't have the context of aliens in his brain yet. And when he's like, that guy's just doing pull-ups, it's like, what are you looking at? I don't know. It's kind of funny, but it's just like, for that character in that moment, it's just like, oh, he thinks outside the box and he thinks differently than the other guys do. But it's like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Okay, but no, okay, first of all, everyone else on the planet loves that scene. Second of all, I love that scene because it shows that he's thinking of aliens as people already, which is
that's
good
fair
because
enough.
It's basically immigration. So when all the other guys go in guns blazing, ready to shoot all of the aliens, that's kind of bad if you're going to be working with aliens, you know?
Right. So you're saying it's like that exercise functions as like one of those like online tests from some institute that's like determine your like racism background level and like what your prejudices are, you know?
And then you just run in and you shoot all of the people that aren't white. That's what it is.
Exactly. And they're like, oh, now see, that's some really good data for us because, you know, it's something that you need to work on in yourself, you know?
Yeah. So
see,
next
what
time,
you did,
don't do that.
what you did is you shot all the black people. and only all the black people? And you're like, yeah, was that not right?
I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
I had to take one of those.
I thought they were the bad guys.
Right. I had to take one of those for my journalism class a little while ago because, you know, like being unbiased and unprejudiced is really important, and like taking a test like that and knowing where you need to work on yourself is like important in like journalism. Yeah. But the one I took was so funny. It's from like some prestigious institution, but even still, they were like multiple choice questions that were just like they were making insightful points, but the options were like so like leading, because it was like, a person's ethnicity makes them more likely to what? And it's like, be a criminal, be... These are bad examples because that's not what it was like. It was more like... It was saying something surprising or like something you might not know. Like, you know, somebody's race is... I can't even think of any of the good examples. God damn it. This is an interesting thing to talk about, but I am totally ruining it.
You're fucking it up, dude.
But it was like, basically, it's like you always knew that the correct answer was like the one that seemed the least true. Because know they were going to be like, oh ho ho, you thought that, but little did you know that actually it's like this. You need to think on that for a little while, you know? The dramatic beat, I'm flipping around a little bit, but this is just because I had this note and I forgot to touch on it. Okay. I think there's a great... like genuine dramatic beat that first time that they're kind of working together, where they go into Tony Shalhoub's pawn shop. And like Tommy Lee Jones just pulls out his fucking gun and is just like, I'm going to shoot you. I'll do it. And then Will Smith is like, oh man, he's crazy. He'll do it. Believe me. He's just like naturally going into like good cop, bad cop and like playing along just on instinct, you know?
Yeah.
But then like he shoots him and there's just this immediate beat where Will Smith pulls out his gun and is like, put your hands on your head. Like, this is not how this works.
It's really good.
And I think it's so great. And it says so much about about Will Smith's character, you know, that he's so good at being a cop that he doesn't have any problem just totally sliding into like, oh, I'm doing my interrogation thing, I'm good at it, and I'm just going to play along, because if I start to let on that I have an adversarial relationship with this other guy, it's going to give the person we're interrogating a certain amount of power, you know?
Yeah.
But then, like, as soon as that guy is not there anymore, that sort of facade just immediately, like, falls away, and he's just like, dude, like...
I get that part of it. I mean, and it's all... I think the bigger thing going on in that scene is that to Will Smith, this guy who he doesn't know just killed a dude.
No, so yeah, exactly.
It's more jumping into, like, police officer mode. Less...
No, yeah, totally.
Less just the guy less that I'm not putting on a facade anymore because that guy isn't here anymore. It's more, you killed a dude.
Right. But my point is that he is putting on a facade for that interrogation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they don't have that relationship established already, you know?
Yeah.
They didn't go in being like, okay, so here's what I'm going to say, and you're going to be good cop, and I'm going to be bad cop. He just knows what's up, but he falls right into it. I don't know. I just love Will Smith's reaction after that shooting test scene where they're just like, hey, Will Smith, you just only shot a 9-year-old girl. Do you want to explain why you did that? And he's like, yeah, I only shot the 9-year-old girl. What do you want from me?
Yeah. Is there a problem with that?
It's like, do you have an issue with this? You're like, okay, all right, fine, whatever, Will.
Like, if you get off my ass about it.
But there's this, I think one of the greatest line readings in history is there's that moment where Tommy Lee Jones is like explaining everything to Will Smith, and he's like, there are aliens all around us, and you know, they live with us just like any other people. And Will Smith is just like, cab drivers.
Yeah.
And it's like not played like a joke at all. It's so funny.
I love that scene where right after that scene with the shooting test, where they're walking around and Tommy Lee Jones is like giving him all the information about the Men in Black and what they are, and he's like, everyone didn't take it. Nobody took the program seriously except for the aliens who actually did come, which is a great line. But then he shows that picture of like them making contact with the aliens for the first time, and Will Smith goes, "Aw, you gave that tall man some flowers." And it's just really good.
Yeah, that's funny too. But I'm really interesting, or excuse me.
You're really interesting.
I'm really interested in the decision they make with Will Smith's character to like not show his personal life at all before he decides to be in the Men in Black, because it's a decision you have to make, right? It's like, do you show like that he has friends and a life, but he's kind of unhappy with it, so you sort of understand his decision to like leave it all behind, or do you just leave it a blank slate, you know, and not really get into it too much, and just assume that the fact that he's letting it all behind means that he's probably not happy with it, you know? And
well, I don't get that. I get more that he understands how important this is, and he understands that he would be good at it, and it feels more like because his life is going good that he does it. Like, it's more of like a wanting to protect what's good rather than this sucks, I'll do something else, you know?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I think I agree, but give me just a second to formulate my thoughts.
Formulating.
Formulating. Will Smith opinion in 3.
Pending. 46% complete.
Remember in The Terminator when they ask him a bunch of questions about Will Smith and he has to think really hard about it?
Will Smith opinion.
But yeah, I don't know, because that's sort of the point, right? Is that it's just ambiguous, you know? And I don't think it's necessarily played one way or the other. He's just sort of like, all that you really know is that he's a police officer and he's really invested in his job, and he has the opportunity to be the best and coolest police officer ever, at the expense of whatever else was going on, whatever that might be. And he chooses to be the police officer. And it says something about his commitment while also like maybe implying something about his personal life if you choose to read into it that way.
If you choose to believe it, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, if you choose to accept it. There's that moment where they're like, oh, and check it out, here's a whole bunch of aliens we're looking at. And they show like a whole bunch of celebrities on the monitor.
Yeah.
It's like Sylvester Stallone. And you're like, that makes sense. You know what? Sylvester Stallone is a perfect pull for that.
Is this mean? I don't know.
It's just like, I feel like Sylvester Stallone is the perfect Men in Black alien type. Because a lot of them are played as being sort of uncomfortable and sort of wanting to blend in as much as you can. And like kind of quiet and insecure, you know? That's like the Men in Black alien type. And I feel like Sylvester Stallone just like having a hard time speaking and being so giant and weird looking is just like, yeah, that's perfect. That fits. That tracks.
Nailed it. Great job.
I'm trying to think who else was on that monitor. Did you pick out anybody else?
I've always looked at it and never like actually registered who was being shown, and every time I watch it I'm like, ooh, I should see who they're showing. Yeah. And then I'm like, I can't see anything.
I just want to say that practical effects are fucking great. Yeah. And I miss them so much. Yeah. And this movie has like the perfect balance, right? Of like doing video computer effects when it needs to, when something absolutely can't be worked around.
That look okay.
Yeah, that looks serviceable. I mean, I don't know, for 1997, they look pretty fucking great.
I mean, probably, yeah, but...
This movie strikes like the perfect balance of like things that absolutely need to be are done digitally, but everything else is practical as much as possible. And I'm always confused by studios' continued insistence on doing things digitally like this.
Yeah, and like it's not a money thing, because like once you get to like visual effects that actually look good, that's when they get expensive.
Exactly.
So, like,
no, yeah. Visual effects are way more expensive than practical ones.
Yeah, and the problem with visual effects is that we are like progressively getting better at it. To the point that's like when you make a movie that has digital effects in it, in like a year, those video effects are going to be garbage. They're going to be out of date, and they're going to look out of date. Versus like the Lord of the Rings, which looks so fucking good still, because everything was done practically.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because it's like there's this big sort of like counter movement in Hollywood about doing practical things with things like John Wick or like Mission Impossible, you know?
Yeah.
But that's specifically to like big crazy stunts and set pieces, you know? I feel like the movement of like doing practical effects for just things like goofy aliens or
characters
or slime getting splattered on somebody is like that hasn't picked up yet, you know?
Yeah, just paint Will Smith blue. Don't make him a weird CGI genie.
Yeah. There's also a nice little bit in this where they like go up to like some tabloid papers like the National Enquirer and stuff, and they're like, it's the only good investigative journalism on the planet. They're the only ones who get it right. And there's something, I don't know, I like this sort of optimism of this movie, as if it's positing that like everything that seems so asinine and stupid in this world actually has a totally rational explanation behind it.
Yeah, like sometimes like has a point to it.
Exactly. It's like there's something just ideologically that I like about that.
Yeah, it's just nice to kind of justify stuff like that.
Right. There's also that gag that they do where Tommy Lee Jones introduces Will Smith to people as Special Agent White and Special Agent Black.
Yeah.
And he just gives him this look both times. It's fucking perfect.
Yeah. Because the first time he goes, this is Mr. Black. And Will Smith is like, I'm a black guy. You can't do that. But then the next time it's like, this is Mr. White. And he's like, really? He's like,
it's so funny. Both of them are so fucking funny in this movie. I think this is like, I don't know. I feel like I've said this before and I'll probably say it again. But like every performance in this movie is flawless. It's just, so there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay, so 2 things that you need to know about me. 2 things that stress me out so much, and like I can't even describe how, is cells and old computers.
Okay.
Because I just can't comprehend either of them. Like when Tommy Lee Jones gets on that old ass computer and just starts deleting his life, which this looks stupid by the way. But like anytime I see footage of like really old computers, like green text old computers,
right?
I just like I can't comprehend how they work. Like I don't understand like what they're doing. So they just stress me out because I'm like, well, how the fuck does this thing work? Which I'm sure is what everyone on the planet thought, which is why they made Mac, because it's easy to use. But yeah. Then cells just stress me out because they're so small and there's so many of them.
What,
and
like
I don't get how it works.
Organism?
Yeah, like I think life
is that relevant?
No, I've just been thinking about it a lot lately because I'm in a biology class, but like life on a cellular level stresses me the fuck out.
Okay.
They're like, okay, this cell makes this thing, and it goes into this organelle, and it goes into another cell and does a different thing. I'm just like, holy shit, dude, this is too much for me.
And it's like the jellyfish thing, where it's like they don't have brains or nervous systems,
yeah,
but they still weirdly have like free will in a weird kind of way.
Yeah. Doesn't that just stress you the hell out? And it's happening right now.
I don't know if stressed out is the correct term, but
it freaks me out. Like it's kind of like an existential kind of fear, but I'm also just like, God, I hate it. This is just me. I'm having a breakdown in media res, but God, I hate life on the cellular level. I think is actually what hell might be.
There's that shot where it was just like an editing decision that I noticed that I thought was really interesting, where like Tommy Lee Jones is talking to Will Smith and he's saying something about like, oh, these guys are like bugs from space and you wouldn't necessarily think anything about bugs, but actually they're real mean and they'll kill you or whatever he says. It's probably much more eloquent than that.
He probably says it better, but
but it's just this like reverse shot of their conversation. But Tommy Lee Jones is like talking for a good long while, and there's like a solid
only on Will Smith.
Yeah, there's like a did you notice that too? There's like a solid like 60 seconds of just on Will Smith, and you get to see his transition from being like, bugs, what, to being like, oh, okay, yeah. All right.
Oh, this is real.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I have to take this seriously, you know? And it's not like, oh, I'm so surprised. It's just like, okay, I was kind of laughing about it, but like, this is my job now, and I should probably be working a little bit harder to like take this seriously.
I should be paying attention.
Yeah. But it was just such a cool editing choice that you get to see because Will Smith is like so great at that kind of thing of like just being able to sell like these minor like emotional shifts, you know?
Yeah.
There's the sorry, just a sec. So around here is when we get to the morgue, with that great woman who is just the best character in anything ever. And maybe
I love how she knows exactly what's going on, despite the fact that they've mind wiped her like 5 times.
And it's so funny that her and Will Smith introduce each other to each other, or like introduce themselves to each other fully 3 different times in this movie.
I know.
Because they keep getting mind wiped. But one of my favorite lines in this movie is when she's like, "Do you know what I like to do here really late at night sometimes?" And Will Smith is just like, "No." I think it's so good. So which leads me into a question I have for you, Adeline.
Yes.
Do you think she had sex around the dead bodies, or do you think that she had sex with the dead bodies?
I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
What do you mean?
When does she say that there's... Because she says that, but then she like brings up some, like she tells you what it actually is, and it's not
she
an
gets
innuendo.
interrupted and she doesn't get finished. That's super crazy subtext, Adeline. Is that
wait,
she's
hold on. Which part of the movie is this at? I
when
don't
they're
remember
at
this
the
part at all.
morgue the first time when Will Smith and
first
the
time?
lady, yeah. There's that line.
No, because she gets mind wiped after the dead body opens up. There isn't time for her to talk about having sex on the dead bodies.
No, there is, because they have that whole exchange where they get kind of flirty with each other, and she's like, "Oh, I might want to fuck Will Smith." Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Will Smith, and and there's that great line which I said, where she goes, "Do you want to know what I do here real late at night sometimes?" And Will Smith is just like, "What are you about to say?"
I really don't remember this part of the movie.
How do you not remember the like crazy innuendo subtext that she is somehow sexually involved with the dead bodies?
I just don't think that would be a part of her character, because she has to be a character for the rest of the movie. We have to interact with her. I don't think they would make that joke that she fucks dead bodies if we had to like talk to her later.
Look, I think you just need to rewatch the scene.
Okay.
So we've watched this movie with our family a handful of times.
Yeah.
And I will just never forget how funny our dad thinks it is when Tommy Lee Jones is shaking that pug around.
That's Dad's favorite part of the movie.
That is like, every time I think I've probably watched that movie with him at least twice, you know, because it's like every once in a while we'll just sit down and watch a movie. And our dad just loses his shit at that. He thinks that's the funniest thing in the world.
It's very good.
That, and when Tommy Lee Jones is goofily singing along to Elvis in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Dad laughs very hard at that also.
Things about our father. I will never understand our dad's taste in music or his sense of humor, because his sense of humor is just like anything,
right.
And his taste in music is also just anything.
Right.
Every once in a while, I'll get in the car with him, and he'll just put on a metal cover of a pop song. Like, I think it was "Call Me Maybe," but it was a metal cover of the song. Like, Dad just like listens to music. He doesn't care what genre, what band. I'll get in the car with him, and he's either playing like old guy rock or he's playing like the 1975. Like there's no rhyme or reason. He loves Paramore. I don't get it.
One of my favorite little set design bits in this movie are their fucking goofy keyboards that they use.
I know.
Where they're like weirdly just like hovering over these plastic things and making these stupid doofy motions with their fingers.
I know.
And it's like so inelegant.
Typing.
But it's like their sci-fi space ergonomic keyboards. I'm near the end of my notes, even though there's still a little bit going on for this movie. But just because it's great and I was just enjoying it. But I love the line where Tommy Lee Jones is like, "Elvis didn't die, he just went home." And you're like, wait, are you actually telling me that Elvis was an alien right now? Or are you just an old guy affectionately referring to Elvis. You're like, what's the subtext on that?
It's definitely the alien thing.
No, the way he says it, I think if it's ambiguous to me because based on his character, I think I would be more inclined to believe that if Elvis were actually an alien, he would just be like, yeah, Elvis was an alien. He's not dead. You know? Like, the fact that he has such a twinkle in his eye when he says it makes me be like, wait a minute.
Sorry, Jackson, you're wrong. Elvis was an alien.
That's a thing that people say about Elvis already. That's an old white guy thing to say about Elvis already.
Yeah, exactly. So they're taking the twist and mean of saying he went home to hang out with his father Jesus. Instead, they're saying he's an alien. It's a twist. It's not just him saying a thing that people already say.
I think it's meant to be deliberately confusing.
I think it's not confusing at all. I think you're just dumb.
I love the way that the organization sort of deals with their crazy world-ending stakes. Like,
oh yeah.
Near the end when they like finally blow up the near the end when they finally blow up the alien and like get the galaxy back, and they just like the way that Tommy Lee Jones like calls Rip Torn and tells him about it is not like, stop, we got it, it's here. He's just like, hey, call the Archelians, we've got it. Yeah, it's here.
I mean, there's that great line. I don't remember at what point in the movie it is, but where Will Smith is kind of freaking out and Tommy Lee Jones just kind of stops him and goes like, every single day there is something on this level that's going to just obliterate the Earth. He's like, This is an everyday occurrence, and it is high stakes, but that's just how it is. And I think it's such a great line.
And that's what makes that performance at the end so great. Like, it's such a conscious decision that like Tommy Lee Jones literally feels no sense of urgency about it. You know?
Can we talk about their plan when fighting when they're fighting the alien at the end of the movie? First of all, Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith blow up the spaceship and it crashes at their feet, and it's the coolest shot of all time where you see the spaceship careening towards them and it stops at the last second. That's dope as hell.
Yeah.
But so they can't just shoot the alien because that would be too easy. So the alien eats the guns, and Tommy Lee Jones's plan is, I'm gonna go get my gun and then I'm gonna shoot him. So he just gets eaten by the alien and then shoots the alien from the inside.
Yeah.
And that's his whole plan, and it works.
Yeah, and it works. It works pretty well.
And it works.
And then immediately afterwards, he's just like, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, we've got it. It's good.
Yeah, and I think Will Smith's reaction to that is so dumb, because he thinks that Tommy Lee Jones, actually died and, sacrificed himself.
Right.
But, that would be so stupid.
I think he knows what's up. I think he's concerned about him, but I don't think he's like, oh my god, he's dead. I think he knows what he's trying to do, at least.
But he just thinks that he's doing something stupid. Yeah.
I want to point out 2 lines in this movie that I think are genuinely, really emotionally effective. The first is when Tommy Lee Jones is, looking at his old wife.
Yeah.
And Will Smith is kind of joshing with him. He's like, oh, well, 'tis better to have loved and lost, as they say. And he just goes, try it. And I was like, oh, fuck. That is the most succinct destruction of a person I've ever seen.
I know.
It's just the perfect, most surgical cutting words.
I know. God, Tommy Lee Jones is such a good actor.
I know. And the other one is, it's the big famous one where he's like, 500 years ago, we knew the center of the earth, or we knew that the earth was the center of the universe. Then we knew the earth was flat. And a minute ago, you knew that you were alone on this planet. And he doesn't say, imagine what you think you know right now that might be wrong. He says, imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is implying that even in spite of all these things you're finding out, it's all probably still bullshit anyway. You know?
We're still probably wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's such a great line.
Because I'm in a philosophy class, and this is literally the conversation we're having in that philosophy class. I think they just nail it so hard.
I also just wrote down that bugs are so fucking gross.
I know, God, I hate bugs.
When Will Smith is stepping on the cockroaches and they're just splatting green goo everywhere. It's so
That's
funny.
Bugs are my biggest fear. I hate bugs.
Yeah, and then it's really sweet when Tommy Lee Jones gets to be with his wife at the end.
Yeah. It is kind of weird that his partner retires and then he also immediately retires.
Right.
I just think that's a little bit weird of a setup, but that's fine.
There's this delivery that Tommy has, like right at the
My
end,
boy Tommy,
where he says that same line. It's like that echoes from the beginning, where his old partner like looks up at the stars and says like, "They're beautiful, aren't they?" But when Tommy Lee Jones does it, it feels kind of weirdly hollow and insincere, like he's trying to see that beauty in things like his partner did, and he wants to go out on that note, but he just can't quite get himself there, you know?
It's just not who he is. Like, he's kind of desensitized to like the majesty of it.
Yeah, and he admired his partner so much that he wants to think more like him, and he's like just trying to do it, but he just like he can't quite think that way, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it's a line that has so much more nuance and subtext to it in that performance than it would if it was just played straight, you know?
Yeah.
And like, God, I love Tommy Lee Jones in this movie so much.
I know.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the end of what I have to say about this movie.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Is in the sequel to Men in Black, don't they like go in back in time and try to save Tommy Lee Jones's life or something?
I think so. I have not seen either.
Is the girl his partner? Will Smith is a partner in that movie?
I do not know.
I think having her be the partner is a cool decision, which is also why I don't think she was talking about fucking corpses in that one conversation.
She is, Adeline. She is.
I don't think she is, Jackson.
I have spoken to people about this. It is a very famous joke from this movie.
Okay. Anyway.
Here are the things that I know about the Men in Black sequels.
Okay.
I know that the second one is very bad.
Okay.
I know that the third one is pretty good. It's not like incredible, but it's like a serviceable movie.
Yeah.
And I watched the first probably 50 minutes of the most recent one, International, and it made me so angry that I just turned it off because it was stupid.
God, and I'm so upset about that too, because it sounded like such a good idea.
Yeah.
When they were like, we're going to make a new Men in Black movie, and it's going to have Chris Hemsworth and the girl whose name I can't remember. What is her name? Tessa Thompson. I can't remember. I'm so bad at actors' names, which kind of sucks because I have a podcast about movies. But
well, what's weird about it is like Men in Black as an idea is like a very American thing. Like this concept of like suited government agents who can just like show up and like wipe something clean and be like they were never there, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very like...
Because it comes from a distrust of our government.
Yeah, but it's like, it's a very American piece of iconography, you know?
Yeah.
And like, putting it in Europe is just weird. It doesn't work the same way.
Yeah,
and like...
it's... Okay, well, it's because it's a sequel, so they either have to go to New York or they have to go to England, and they were already in New York.
Yeah, but it's like... Because Men in Black, I mean, I've said this a million times, but this movie lives and dies on the incredible charisma and the wonderful performances of all of its actors, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's got a great script and great effects and a cool story and a fun idea, but all of that is secondary to just, like, the wonderful things.
To how good the performances are.
Yeah, exactly.
Performances are.
And this movie is so stunningly flat and so boring, it just pissed me off. It was like, never has anybody failed to make a sequel even remotely faithful to the power of the original more spectacularly than this time.
Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, who have so much on-screen chemistry. They've worked together and have been great together before. How do you like direct them so bad or write a script so bad that that's all just like destroyed?
It's
like, how
worst.
do you do that?
And they had like, it just on paper it all seemed so cool. Like, get the guy who directed Fast and Furious 5, where they just decided to go apeshit.
Yeah.
Get Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, and have Kumail Nanjiani play a goofy alien, and just go fucking crazy. And it just sucked. It was just the worst.
I think it's because they wanted to play it safe. What I want all, like, anybody who's, like, working on a sequel of an IP that exists... Like, just understand that what we want you to do is we just want you to go apeshit. Like, we don't... We don't want you to, like, do it again. We don't want you to, like, have this, like, tame movie of something we basically already seen before. We just want you to get weird with it. And nobody will get weird with it.
And if there's anybody who knows how to get weird with it... I just want the
Jurassic Park movies to get weird with it. Just get weird with it, you guys.
I would argue that they did get weird with it in Fallen Kingdom, but whatever.
Get better weird with it.
We disagree on Fallen Kingdom. But yeah, like, if there was one guy that I would trust to get weird with it, it would be F. Gary Gray. He took Fast and Furious and was like, let's get weird with it. Yeah, he was like, let's get fucking Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in here and just go fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Then he just didn't do that with Men in Black, and I'm sad about it.
Because you know why the Back to the Future movies are so famous is because they did something really good, and then they were like, what if we just did weird stuff also? What if we went back to cowboy times and it was great? God.
What are some good sequels that just went weird with it? Logan, in its own weird kind of way.
God, Logan's so good. They were like, what if we make a noir film based on Wolverine? That's so good.
Right.
Fuck.
It's not a noir film. It's like a postmodern Western.
It could be a noir if you buy the version where they made it black and white.
That
That's
fucking
all they
cracks
did.
me up. Because Logan is so much not any of the things that a noir film is.
Yeah, they just said that it was, and I just
no
agreed
part
with
of that
them.
movie has any similarities to a film noir. Except that for some reason, James Mangold was like, I like old movies and black and white seems cool, so I'm going to put an extra disc in the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can watch it in black and white.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, Marvel is now getting weird with it, and I'm so excited about it.
I would argue that Marvel on its own was kind of getting weird with it, right?
We're already getting weird with superhero movies. Already getting weird with it.
I mean, it's not quite so much getting weird as so much as it is just taking a big swing, you know?
As much as it is actually doing a good job.
Yeah. Well, but it's just like a strong creative decision that you follow through with confidently.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if we made a movie where there were like 6 superheroes in it all working together? And they just did that. They like swung for the fences and they did a great job at it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I guess like getting weird is like the simple version of it, but like just like making hard creative decisions and like executing it well. Like that's what... Be creative with your movie, directors. Like, I don't know, that feels like something I shouldn't have to say.
Right. What if it was in Europe? It's not a bold creative decision.
Yeah. What if Garfield went to England? Like...
I need to make a list of sequels where they go to Europe. Because there are so many. Off the top of my head, Ocean's 12, Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties, Men in Black International, I'm trying to think do they go to Europe in Men in Black 2? I don't know.
Probably. I hope so.
I'll work on it. I'll get back to you.
Gotcha.
Okay, I think we could just wrap it up here for today.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, Adeline, do you want to hear a 1-star review of Men in Black?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so this is from... I'm shaking things up. I'm gonna pull a review from Amazon today.
Just to get weird with it.
Yeah. This Amazon commenter named Mirror gives the movie 1 star and says, bad words not necessary. Too many bad words in this one for me.
He said ass, and unacceptable.
I wanted to show this to a little baby. But now I can't.
I couldn't.
Because Will Smith can't watch his dang mouth.
His dingle dangle mouth.
Anyway, my name is Jackson McMurray.
My name's Adeline McMurray.
And this is No Nerds Allowed.
There are no nerds allowed. I like to imagine that this person has just written that on like every single movie. Like they've given every single movie on the planet this review. Like,
can I look at their profile? I want to see.
Like Back to the Future, 1 star. Language not necessary. Did they mean bad language, or do they just wish that there were no words in the whole film?